So I'd like to show you how something as basic as a children's book can be a historical document. This is The Little Fire Engine by Lois Lenski. And we're going to see what this will tell you about the United States in the first half of the 20th century. The Little Fire Engine. Now, if you want to know exactly when a book was written, on the back of the title page, you find a bunch of small print, including the copyright date, 1946 by Lois Lenski. So we know the book was written sometime before 1946. The Little Fire Engine by Lois Lenski. Fireman Small has a little fire engine. He keeps it in the firehouse. The little fire engine is a pumper. A pumper uses its engine to pump the water. The truck carries black suction hose on one side and a ladder on the other. The fire hose is in the body of the truck. You can see there's a fire hydrant, which tells you that they have municipal water. The fire engine certainly looks different from fire engines today, but the basics are there. Red lights, sirens, hoses, chemical fire extinguishers. The bell has kind of fallen into disuse, but pretty much everything that you see in a modern fire truck is on this one. Now, there's lots of things like first aid kit, I'm sure, is very different than today, and there's other things that we would find inside a fire truck that are different, but the basics are already here almost a century ago. Well, more than half a century ago. Fireman Small sleeps upstairs in the firehouse. Ding, 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 goes the alarm bell. 2, 3, fire at Church and Summer Streets, calls Fireman Small. He jumps out of bed quickly. So they don't have a PA system, they don't have satellite navigation or GPS or anything, but they do have an electric bell. And they can use that to convey exactly where the fire is instantly. So Fireman Small knows exactly where he's going even before he gets out of bed. Now notice this pole in the center. We'll talk about that really quickly. Fireman Small slides down the pole. The fireman's pole was quite an innovation. It allowed firefighters to get downstairs from their sleeping quarters to the fire engines much more quickly than running down the stairs. They've fallen into disuse. One reason is that occasionally people would fall through accidentally. If they slid down too fast, they could get friction burns. Sometimes a person below was hit by somebody coming down from above. Also, the fumes from the fire engines would go up into the sleeping quarters. Now, the solution to all these problems was simply to have the sleeping quarters on the same floor as the fire engines. So you could just simply run through a door instead of dealing with the pole. But some fire stations still have them even today. Fireman Small puts on his helmet and rubber coat. He jumps on the seat and starts the engine. The other firemen come running. Tinker the fire dog comes running too. The firehouse doors swing open. The little fire engine moves into the street. Nang, 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 goes the bell. Now, you wouldn't have firefighters today just clinging onto the back. It's a very efficient way to put people into a small space because they're standing instead of sitting, but we just don't do that. Although it would allow the fire engine to be shorter than it is today, but we just don't do this today. It's not exactly safe. The little fire engine goes faster and faster. All the cars pull over to the curb to let it pass. Nang, 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 goes the bell. Ooh, goes the siren. Couple things to notice. The cars, obviously they're not super precise drawings, but they give you a sense of what a car looks like in the time. Also, notice dry cleaners and laundry. Most people, when they do their laundry, if they don't have a machine at home, they go to a laundromat or they take their clothes to a dry cleaners. But clearly, Back then, these services are coming to people in their homes or places of business. So there are some changes here, certainly since the 1940s. The little fire engine turns the corner into Main Street. Nang, 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 nang goes the bell. Ooh, goes the siren. All the people stop to look. Where is the fire? Nobody's on a cell phone. Yes, there was a time before cell phones. There's also a time where young boys wore suspenders. Don't see that much anymore, do you? And most people are wearing hats. The little fire engine comes to Church and Summer Streets. The corner house is on fire. Smoke is coming out of doors and windows. You wouldn't think of, people will fight a fire before the firefighters get there. They don't usually do it with buckets these days. They usually got hoses with spray nozzles, but apparently they don't have that. The little fire engine slows down by the hydrant and drops off the hose. Firemen unload the hose from the truck. They lay the hose to the fire. Now, we have a crowd here. A couple things to notice about the crowd. It's not just that people wore more hats back then, but notice a couple things. One, this crowd is entirely white. There are no black or brown people here. This is a sign that this neighborhood is pretty much segregated. And in the 40s, America was segregated, either by law in the South or what they call de facto segregation, which they happened in the North. But this is not a integrated neighborhood, that's for sure. Also notice that the small children are all with women. You don't see any fathers taking care of their kids, do you? So all sorts of things just in the pictures that you can see. The fireman Small screws the nozzle on the end of the hose. The other end goes to the pumper. The suction hose goes from the pumper to the hydrant. The suction hose is just because a canvas hose can be kept in, full inflated with water under the pressure from the pump. But if you're sucking water, it's going to want to collapse the hose. So you have a very stiff suction hose, which can resist the weight of the atmosphere when you start sucking. Water pressure might not be all that good. Of course, the same problem exists even today. Go inside the house, shouts Fireman Small. Find out where the fire is. The firemen take pikes and axes and march in at the door. Start the pump, orders Fireman Small. Turn the water on. The pump starts pumping. Swish, the water comes shooting out of the nozzle. The family carries sofa, lamps, tables, and chairs out of the house. Now, you would never do this today, having children running back into a burning building to save stuff. Sofas are stuff. Chairs are stuff. You would never send a person back into a burning house. The firefighters wouldn't even let you. They'd grab you before they let you run back in the house. But times are different. A fireman calls out the window, "The fire's around the kitchen chimney." Fireman Small and his men take the hose to the kitchen. They rush in at the back door. Now, you can see how there's a kitchen that's in a annex in the back. A lot of houses that were built before municipal water supplies were available were built without plumbing. But later on, when they became available, you had a choice. You could either tear up walls and floors in order to run piping all over an existing house, or you could simply build an annex. You build an addition, and that's where all the plumbing is. And so your addition would have your kitchen and bathrooms. In fact, my house, when I bought it, had no plumbing in the main house. It was all in this kind of back one-floor annex that had been added on after the house was built. So there you are. Also, look at those trash cans. Those are not being picked up by a large robotic arm on the side of a truck, are they? Oh, look! Everybody looks. A little girl is standing at the upstairs windows. She has a kitten in her arms. Mama, she calls. Stay right where you are, answers her mother. Fireman Small is coming. He will bring you down. This is why you don't send children back into the house to get things during a fire. Get the ladder, orders Fireman Small. The firemen run and bring the ladder. Run it up, hurry. Fireman Small climbs up the ladder. He lifts the little girl out of the window and carries her down. She runs to her father and mother. Hooray, shout the people. Fireman Small goes up the ladder again. He takes his axe. The fire is in the attic now. He chops a hole in the roof. The firemen take the hose up the ladder. Fireman Small squirts water down into the hole. Zzz. White clouds of steam rise up. The flames die down. The fire is out, shouts Fireman Small. Stop the pump, turn off the water. The firemen do what they are told. They put everything back in the truck. Tinker is still waiting in his seat. The fire is over, says Fireman Small. Move right back in again. The family carry their sofa, lamps, tables, and chairs into the house. Now, that wouldn't happen today. You'd have the insurance company out there. You'd be trying to document the damage that was being done. This family does not seem to have home insurance, which today seems kind of crazy because, for example, you couldn't get a mortgage without home insurance. The bank wouldn't insure a house that, would not, loan money for a house that wasn't insured. But times are different then. Clearly, they don't seem to be insured. The fire is over, says Fireman Small. Let's go. He drives slowly back to the firehouse. And that's all about Fireman Small. So I hope this has been helpful. You can see how pretty much any book can be a historical document. And even the books that we write today, at some point in the future, somebody will read these books and learn stuff about us. Maybe even stuff we don't really want them to know about us. But I hope you've enjoyed this. Bye-bye.